Many times, we think or act behind the idea that every child has access to the most essential resources needed to achieve a successful development, or, at the very least, a healthy diet. Fortunately, that isn't always the case, and changes are fewer if we set our sights beyond and take into consideration the global situation. Every year, malnutrition has been reaching higher and higher levels, nationwide and worldwide. For instance, according to UNICEF, in the Global South, almost 200 million of children under 5 years of age suffer from chronic malnutrition. Few of the cases of malnutrition are being reflected in Juan's case. He is an 18-month baby which has been living in a rural area of Alba, Colombia. Juan lives with his mother, a 17-year-old, and his grandmother, who is the head of the household and the only one who generates incomes through informal jobs. That's why the purchase of a variety of foods and therefore the obtaining of a good diet is hindered by this lack of stable economy. During his first 6 months, Juan was unable to receive an adequate breast milk due to the difficulties that his mother had feeding herself and producing the milk she needed. One day, Juan was taken to the medical center. He was constantly getting sick. He had fever, shortness of breath, diarrhea, and looked too pale. When he was going through the medical checkup, doctors reported that Juan had a high risk of presenting a case of acute malnutrition, so the necessary measures should be taken if they didn't want to hospitalize him. Just as Juan, there are many other children who are at high risk of presenting cases of acute malnutrition, and therefore there are many others who have already been hospitalized or even worse, sent into the intensive care unit. So, the first question that comes to mind is, what actions have been taken? Nations all over the world have developed multiple strategies. The most popular one is the use of therapeutic food in sachets developed by UNICEF. However, this strategy has shown counterproductive effects. The strong and bitter flavor from these sachets enhances the lack of appetite in children, generating less desire to eat and therefore an highest difficulty to overcome their cases of malnutrition. Faced with this situation and in response to this growing problematic, Nuappi was born. Nuappi is more than nutrition. Nuappi is care, safety, and comfort for children and their caregivers. What makes Nuappi different from other solutions? Nuappi is a nutritional complement, which combines 3 essential characteristics: judgment theory and safety base, child development, and the use of biotechnologies of percutaneous absorption such as liposomes and hydrogels. Nuappi understands that in order to achieve an optimum growth and early childhood development, it is fundamental to take into consideration the relationship with the caregivers and the affection received by children. Furthermore, the application of percutaneous absorption biotechnology, liposomes and hydrogels will allow Nuappi to act in a more efficient and friendly way. And also, it will allow the child to obtain the macro and micronutrients that he needs. So, how's the product? Nuappi is a hybrid product designed so that the caregiver can contribute to the nutrition of the child while caring him and providing comfort and affection. It is intended for children between 0 and 2 and has 2 ports, the application device and the Nuappi doses. Also, it is necessary to mention that the mixture of macro and micronutrients provided in Nuappi is based on the composition of the therapeutic formulas approved and established by UNICEF. And how is it implemented and how does it work? To understand how it works and what the implementation scheme is, let's return to the case of Juan, who would enter to the first phase, detection. As we told you before, he was taken to the medical attention center of his region, where the health professional made a diagnosis and informed his mother of the risk he had of falling into a case of malnutrition. Due to this situation and to avoid Juan's case from getting worse, the nutritionist decides to formulate Nuappi. This is where the intervention phase begins, so the health staff explains to Juan's mother how Nuappi works and how to apply it. Let's go down deeper on an explanation of how to use Nuappi. The first thing that must be emphasized is that the application is carried out when the child is semi-naked, such as a bath bomb, because the product must make direct contact with the skin. First of all, the caregiver takes the dosage and unwrap or decapsulate a dose of Nuappi. Then, the caregiver inserts the dose into the pocket provided for this in the application device. And last, the caregiver picks up the child and places him into the Nuappi device. It is important for the caregiver to hug the child all the time of application, because this ensures a better contact between the dose surface and the child's skin. Once at home, Juan's mother begins with the implementation of Nuappi. As Juan's mother carries him after the bath, she's allowing a better contact between Nuappi's surface and Juan's skin. Nuappi is composed of an external structure made of cotton textile and the union of two types of biotechnology: liposomes and hydrogel bands. The hydrogel is a biopolymer of natural origin, composed of a mixture between chitosan and keratin that give it absorbent hydrophilic properties. That's the main reason why the hydrogel serves as a container for liposomes. Liposomes are phospholipid vesicles, capsules with properties very similar to those of the cell membrane, which allows it to cross skin barriers and therefore become the ideal transporter for macro and micronutrients. When the administration device comes into contact with one's skin, the hydrogel, due to its ability to act against changes in temperature, gradually begins to release the liposomes. Once released, they come into contact with the skin and enter through the ducts of the hair follicles. Thereby, they reach the dermis into a consecutive chain of fusion with the cell membranes. Eventually, they reach and enter the bloodstream. Finally, they release micro and micronutrients to the bloodstream, leaving them ready for the organism to take advantage of them. While all this process is taking place, Juan is in the arms of his mother, sharing a moment of closeness and affection. Nuappi is not only strengthening Juan's nutrition, but also his emotional and affective component. After applying all the doses provided by the health professional, we enter into the verification phase. Juan's mother must return to a new consultation to follow Juan's development and nutrition process, where, if it is the case, the supply of Nuappi will be suspended as recommended by the nutritionist. Although the process with the nutritional supplement ends, Nuappi can continue accompanying Juan until the age of 2 years as a care object and thus continue to strengthen this emotional bond. Now, understanding the Nuappi's implementation mode, let's mention its impacts. So, how does it affect the environment? Nuappi's biotechnology generates less waste thanks to the fact that they are made of fully biodegradable materials. For instance, the hydrogel consists of chitosan, a polysaccharide of natural origin, which takes a few months to break down into the environment. Furthermore, the liposome solution is absorbed entirely by the baby's skin to later be degraded and assimilated by metabolic processes of its body. As for the other components, Nuappi seeks to reduce the environmental impact, proposing that the textile and waterproof material can be reusable and have a longer lifespan of around 2 years or more. What are the advantages and economic impact? We recognize the importance and profitability of investing in early childhood, as mentioned by James Heckman, 2000 Nobel Prize in Economics. For every dollar invested in early childhood, there is a rate of return and savings between $7 and $21 for society in the future. Also, according to the World Health Organization and the Ibero-American Development Bank, it is more profitable to invest in prevention and not in care. The state can spend more than the double of their resources on treatments for children admitted to a hospital due to malnutrition, unlike prevention treatments that can be carried out at home. Another very important long-term result is the construction of citizens with greater opportunities and higher performance, which will have notable impact on the future economy and development of a country. It is here where Nuappi supports notions like the one mentioned by the 35th President John Kennedy. Children are the most important resource in the world and the best hope for the future. That's why Nuappi knows that providing better nutrition and strengthening the child's relationship with his caregivers, we will be building greater opportunities for that child in the future. And what are Nuappi's concerns? Nuappi's concerns rely on the unwanted interactions that can be carried out with the product. For instance, what happens if the recommended dose of the product is exceeded? This fact would not only affect the effectiveness of the nutrition, but could even cause cases of vitaminosis, diseases due to the excess of vitamins such as jaundice or others. That is why we insist in taking the greatest care in the dosage of the product recommended by professionals, depending on the child's condition. Sensitivity and hypersensitivity of the child's skin is another big concern. For this case, The caregiver is assured of monthly monitoring by health professionals on how the product is affecting the child's skin and the progress of Nuappi's complementary nutrition in the health of the child. Additionally, with the use of biotechnology such as hydrogels, we avoid the maximum possible irritation on the delicate surface of the skin. What's coming next? Firstly, one of the most relevant aspects for the production of Nuappi is understanding the environment, the relationships and practices in which children want to benefit develop. That's why it is necessary to carry out research and field mapping. Secondly, to adapt Nuappi's application product, it is necessary to understand the care practices that parents or caregivers have in their contact with children, in order to adapt the device to their needs. Finally, the third step is to understand and adapt Nuappi to the resources available in the context that we want to intervene, in order to achieve greater efficiency. We invite you to know Nuappi. We're more than nutrition. Nuappi is care, safety, and comfort for children.